I need a mother for my girls, and you need shelter. The widower cowboy proposed to the outcast bride. Sound. Lone harmonica plays over the sound of prairie wind. Hoofbeats echo faintly in the distance. A church bell tolls once, mournful. On the wide and windswept prairie, storms don't just come from the sky. They come from sorrow, from whispers, from the emptiness left behind when a family is torn apart. Thunder rumbles fade into soft sound of children crying faintly. Caleb Turner was a man with a ranch to run, and two little girls who needed more than a father's hands could give. Sarah Jenkins was a woman the town cast aside, a name whispered with pity and scorn. All she needed was a roof, a shelter from the cold world. Soft strings rise. The sound of a wagon creaking, a door opening, children's hesitant laughter. Two lives, two wounds, brought together not by romance but by survival. A bargain struck beneath the weight of loss. Narrator. But on the frontier, bargains have a way of turning into something greater. For in the face of storms, both of the sky and of the heart, love can take root where least expected. This is the story of a widower cowboy, an outcast bride, and the shelter they found, not in walls or timber, but in each other. The prairie was endless. Golden waves of grass stretched to the horizon, moving slow beneath the evening wind. The sun dipped low, spilling its last light across the Turner Ranch. And on that porch sat a man with a heavy heart. Caleb Turner, a widower cowboy, with two little girls who needed more than his calloused hands could give. Sound would creaks as Caleb rocks gently in his chair. The faint laughter of children drifts from inside the house. It had been 2 years since death carried his wife away. 2 years since he'd buried her beneath the lone oak on the hill. Caleb had faced storms, cattle drives, and winters that broke weaker men. But nothing was harder than raising Mary and Ruthie Turner alone. Caleb calls softly into the house. Caleb, Mary, Ruthie, come on out here now. The screen door bangs. Mary, age 8, steps out with her little sister Ruthie, age 5, clutching a rag doll. They climb onto the porch rail. Mary, Papa, Ruthie's doll is broken again. Ruthie, pouting. Her arm fell off. Mama used to fix it. She holds up the doll, one arm dangling loose. Caleb sets his hat aside and kneels to take the doll gently in his big hands. Caleb, well now let's see. HM, a clean break, like a fence post after a storm. I reckon I can fix this. He takes a piece of twine from his pocket, carefully reattaching the doll's arm. Ruthie watches with wide eyes. Ruthie, it's not the same, Papa. Mama sewed it real pretty. Her voice cracks. Mary shifts uncomfortably beside her. Mary, softly. We miss her, Papa. Caleb's hands pause. He lowers his head, then pulls both girls close, one on each knee. Caleb, quiet, steady. I miss her too, little ones. Every day. But listen here. Papa's still here. I'll take care of you. Always. Silence. The girls lean into his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. After a moment, Caleb looks out at the horizon, his jaw tight, eyes distant. The prairie wind howled through the cottonwoods that night, but it was the silence inside Caleb's chest that weighed on him most. A man could mend fences, herd cattle, and keep a roof overhead. But a man couldn't replace a mother's lullaby. He knew his girls were growing, and grief was growing with them. Later that night, the girls are asleep. Caleb sits alone by the fire, staring at the flames. Caleb, muttering, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. They need more than me. More than just hard work and these two hands. They need tenderness. They need a woman's touch. He rubs his face with both hands, voice breaking. Caleb, but where do I find that? Who'd take on a cowboy's life and another woman's children? Caleb's mind wandered back to his late wife, Lydia, the way she laughed when the girls danced in the kitchen, the way she hummed hymns while kneading bread. That memory cut sharp. He thought of the graveside promise he made, to keep the girls safe, to keep them loved. And he knew he was falling short. The fire pops. Outside, the wind grows louder. Caleb sits in silence, staring at his calloused hands. Scene. The next morning. The rooster crows. Caleb saddles his horse in the barn while Mary watches, holding Ruthie's hand. Mary, Papa, are you going to town? Caleb, tightening the saddle strap. Yes, darling. Supplies are running low. You two mind the house till I'm back. Ruthie, frowning. Can you bring candy? Caleb chuckles, musing her hair. Caleb, we'll see what we can do. He swings onto his horse, glances at the house, and his expression hardens, like a man with more than errands on his mind. As Caleb rode toward town, the thought gnawed at him. He had land, cattle, and a name respected by every man on the frontier. But what he didn't have was a mother for his girls, a woman to steady the home, soften the edges of his grief, and teach his daughters how to grow into women their mother would be proud of. He didn't yet know who she was, or if she'd even exist. But that morning ride carried a seed of resolve. Caleb Turner would find someone, not just for himself, but for Mary and Ruthie. Music swells, hinting at the coming storm of choices and hearts about to collide. And so began a journey, one that would change the Turner Ranch forever. The Turner Ranch stood a dozen miles from town, but the gossip stretched much farther. And no one felt the sting of whispers sharper than Sarah Jenkins. She was the woman folks pointed at when they thought she wasn't looking. The woman who sat alone in church pews. The one the town had labeled cursed. Sarah moves past the saloon. Two men tip their hats half-heartedly, then smirk as she passes. Man one, low mocking. That's her. The one left high and dry. Man two, couldn't keep a man if her life depended on it. Sarah doesn't respond. She pulls her shawl closer and keeps walking, chin just high enough to show she won't break. Children laugh and chase one another nearby. One little boy points. Child, Mama, is that the spinster lady? Mother, hushing, whispering. Hush now. Don't stare. General store. Wooden floor creaks as Sarah steps inside. The store smells of flour, leather, and coffee beans. The storekeeper, Mr. Hill, looks up from behind the counter. Mr. Hill, gruff, impatient. Morning, Miss Jenkins. Sarah, gentle but firm. Morning, Mr. Hill. Just a loaf of bread today. She places a few coins on the counter, her hands trembling slightly as if they're her last. Mr. Hill, counting, then sighing. That'll clear your tab. But he pauses, eyes cold, no more credit. Not until you've got steadier work. Sarah, quiet, holding his gaze with dignity. Understood. Thank you, Mr. Hill. She takes the bread and turns. A woman standing near the shelves leans toward another, whispering just loud enough for Sarah to hear. Woman one, imagine living like that. Alone, no family, no prospects. Woman two, snickering, like a weed that won't die. Sarah stiffens, keeps walking. She steps out into the sunlight, blinking back tears but refusing to let them fall. Sarah Jenkins had known sorrow enough to bury a heart. A father who drank himself to death. A fiancé who'd run off on the eve of their wedding. Family who scattered when shame followed her name. Still, she carried herself with quiet strength. She had no fine dresses, no home to call her own, but she had pride. And pride was all she could afford. Outside the boarding house, Sarah sets her bread down and scrubs the steps with a bucket of water, doing chores to pay for her room. Dust swirls around her skirts. Boarding house keeper, off stage, sharp. Miss Jenkins, don't forget the back steps when you're through. Sarah sighs softly, then answers without bitterness. Yes, ma'am. She wrings her rag, kneels again. Her eyes lift as the sound of hoofbeats approaches. Caleb rides into town. His hat casts a shadow over his face. He reins in his horse near the boarding house, pausing when he sees Sarah. Their eyes meet, hers cautious, his steady. Caleb, calling down politely. Afternoon, Miss Jenkins. Sarah straightens, brushing dust from her skirt. She hesitates, then nods. Sarah, measured, guarded. Good afternoon, Mr. Turner. A pause. Caleb studies her for a moment longer than custom allows. Sarah lowers her gaze, returning to her work. Caleb tips his hat, nudges his horse forward, but his thoughts linger behind. To most men, Sarah Jenkins was nothing more than the shadow of a scandal. But Caleb Turner saw something different. He saw a woman who bore her loneliness with dignity. A woman who hadn't broken, though the world tried to break her. And somewhere deep in his chest, a thought stirred, a thought he would not yet speak. Later that evening, Sarah returns to her small boarding house room. The walls are bare, the bed simple. She sets the bread on the table, sits, and bows her head in a whispered prayer. Sarah, soft, breaking. Lord, I know folks say I ain't worth much, but I've tried to be faithful. I've tried to keep walking straight. Please don't let this be all there is. Silence. She wipes her eyes, then breaks a piece of bread to eat alone. Outside, a train whistle sounds in the distance, long and lonely. That night, while Sarah Jenkins prayed in a small room with bare walls, Caleb Turner sat on his porch under a sky filled with stars. Two hearts, miles apart, both longing for something they could not yet name. The prairie winds carried whispers of change, and soon, those whispers would turn into a storm. The Turner Ranch barn, late evening. A lantern flickers inside, casting long shadows across the wooden beams. Caleb sits on a stool, sharpening a tool. Outside, crickets chirp. His girls are asleep inside the house. He mutters quietly to himself, rehearsing words. A cowboy never wasted words. But Caleb Turner knew some words had to be spoken right, or not at all. That night, beneath the lantern's glow, he practiced a sentence that made his stomach twist tighter than any lasso. Caleb runs the whetstone along the blade, pauses, speaks under his breath. Caleb, muttering unsure, I need a mother for my girls, and you need shelter. No, sound more like a business deal. Sighs. Maybe. Sarah Jenkins, will you? He shakes his head. Lord, this ain't no cattle auction. How do you ask a woman something like this? He leans forward, resting his elbows on his knees, voice low, almost like a prayer. Caleb, I ain't looking for romance. I just want my girls to have a mother's arms again. And maybe she needs us too. The lantern hisses. Caleb rubs his face, resolves himself, and nods. A decision settled on him like dawn settling on the prairie. By morning, he would ride into town, not for supplies, not for business, but for Sarah Jenkins. The following morning, main street of town. Dust kicks up under wagon wheels. Sarah is outside the boarding house, wringing laundry and hanging it on a line. Her hair has slipped loose, strands blowing in the wind. She hums faintly, though her eyes look tired. Caleb rides into town on horseback. He reins in beside her, dismounting with a deliberate calm. Sarah looks up, startled. Caleb, removing his hat, steady. Miss Jenkins, may I speak with you a moment? Sarah hesitates, glances at the laundry, then nods politely. Sarah, of course, Mr. Turner. He clears his throat, searching for words. His hands tighten around his hat brim. Sarah studies him warily, and used to men stopping for her. Caleb, I'll speak plain. I'm not much for dressing things up. Sarah, slight smile, curious. So I've heard. He exhales, meets her eyes. Caleb, Miss Jenkins, I need a mother for my girls. And you, he pauses, voice gentler now. You need shelter, a place to belong. Sarah freezes, eyes widening. Her hands grip the wet laundry tighter, water dripping between her fingers. Sarah, stammering. Mr. Turner, are you asking what I think you're asking? Caleb takes a step closer, lowering his voice so only she hears. Caleb, I'm asking you to be my wife. The sound of wagon wheels creaking fills the pause. Sarah's lips part, but no words come first. She trembles slightly, torn between disbelief and longing. Sarah, soft, breaking. You don't mean it. Caleb, firm, unwavering. I mean every word. My girls need more than I can give alone. And I reckon you need a family as much as they need a mother. Sarah looks away, tears forming. She whispers, Sarah, no one's ever asked me before. Not truly. Not for the right reasons. Caleb, gently. Well, I ain't most men. Their eyes meet. For the first time, Sarah sees not pity in his gaze, but respect. Her lips tremble. A long silence hangs before she finally nods, voice unsteady. Sarah, yes. Caleb lets out a slow breath, like a burden lifting. He tips his hat slightly, almost reverently, then offers his hand. Sarah hesitates, then places her smaller hand in his. It was not a proposal wrapped in roses or whispered promises. It was plain, honest, and carved straight from necessity. But sometimes the strongest bonds are forged in fire, not in flowers. Sarah stands, watching as Caleb mounts his horse again. Caleb, quietly, with a hint of relief. I'll come for you Sunday. We'll speak with the preacher. Sarah nods, stunned. Caleb rides off down the street, leaving her standing among the fluttering sheets on the line, her hand pressed against her heart. That evening, Sarah sits alone in her small room at the boarding house, the loaf of bread from yesterday untouched on the table. She whispers a prayer, hands clasped tight. Sarah, trembling, Lord, I don't know if this is mercy or another test, but if it's your hand, give me courage. Don't let me fail those little girls. Don't let me fail him. She wipes her tears, looking toward the window where the prairie wind rattles the shutters. Outside, the sky glows with fading light. And so was decided. The widower cowboy had spoken, and the outcast woman had answered. Two lives, broken in different ways, now bound themselves together, not by love at first, but by need. Yet in that need, the seeds of something greater had been sown. The Turner Ranch kitchen, a week after the quiet wedding. Morning light filters through the window. The smell of frying bread drifts, though it's faintly scorched. Sarah stands at the stove in a plain dress, her sleeves rolled up. Caleb sits at the table, reading the good book. The girls hover in the doorway, whispering. Marriage had come swift and simple. No white gown, no crowd of well-wishers. Just a preacher, a prayer, and two broken souls agreeing to walk together. But marriage, as Sarah soon learned, was not the same as family. Mary whispers to Ruthie, peeking around the doorframe. Mary, whispering. She doesn't do it like Mama did. Ruthie, sniffly. I don't want her here. I want Mama back. Sarah stirs the skillet. The bread blackens at the edges. She hears the whispers. Her hand falters on the spoon. Caleb glances up from his reading. Caleb, gentle but firm. Girls, come sit now. Breakfast's near ready. They shuffle to the table reluctantly, faces sullen. Sarah sets plates before them with a hopeful smile that quickly fades when Ruthie pushes hers away. Ruthie, pouting. It's burnt. Mama never burn it. Mary nudges her sister, but her own face holds disapproval. Sarah swallows hard, trying to keep her voice steady. Sarah, I'll do better tomorrow. Eat what you can, little one. The silence is heavy. Caleb clears his throat and bows his head. Caleb, Lord, bless this food and bless this house. Amen. The girls mumble amen half-heartedly. They eat little. Sarah sits stiff, hands folded tight in her lap. Later that day, Sarah kneels in the yard, scrubbing clothes in a tin wash basin. Sweat dampens her brow. Mary and Ruthie chase each other in the distance, but keep their laughter away from her. She watches them with longing. Caleb approaches, wiping his hands on a rag. Caleb, you're working too hard your first week. Sarah, forcing a smile. It keeps me busy, keeps me from thinking too much. Caleb, studying her face. They'll warm to you, Sarah. Just takes time. Sarah, voice cracking. Do you truly believe that? Because right now, it feels like I'm intruding. Like I've stepped into another woman's shoes, and they don't fit. Caleb sets the rag aside, kneels beside her, voice quiet but steady. Caleb, you're not replacing their mother. No one could. But you're giving them something else. A chance to heal. Give them time. Give yourself time. Sarah nods, but her eyes glisten. She looks back at the girls, who have stopped playing and are staring at her from across the yard. They quickly turn away when she meets their eyes. The Turner Ranch was filled with chores, with the smell of dust and horses, with laughter that came in bursts but often went quiet when Sarah entered the room. She tried. Lord, how she tried. But shadows of the late Lydia Turner hung in every corner, and the girls clung to those shadows like lifelines. Nighttime. The girls' bedroom. A dim lantern glows. Sarah peeks in, carrying a quilt she's mended. Mary pretends to be asleep. Ruthie clutches her doll tight. Sarah kneels softly beside Ruthie's bed. Sarah, whispering, I'm not your mama, sweetheart, but I'll love you with what I've got, if you'll let me. Ruthie blinks, eyes wet, but says nothing. Sarah gently lays the quilt over her, smoothing it with tender hands. She moves to Mary's bed, tucking the blanket. Mary whispers without opening her eyes. Mary, quiet, sharp. You'll never be her. Sarah stiffens, breath catching. After a long pause, she whispers back. Sarah, I know, and I wouldn't dare try. But I promise you this, I won't leave. She presses her hand to the quilt, rises, and leaves quietly. Outside the door, she leans against the wall, silent tears slipping down her face. Caleb watches from the hallway shadows, his jaw tight, heart aching for her. That night, Sarah knelt by her bedside alone. The prairie winds rattled the shutters, carrying the voices of the past, voices she could not silence. Sarah bows her head in whispered prayer. Sarah, trembling, Lord, give me strength to love them, even if they never love me back. She clasps her hands tighter, her voice breaking. Sarah, I don't ask for honor. I don't ask for ease. Just help me stay. And in the quiet darkness of the Turner Ranch, a battle had begun. Not against storms or cattle thieves, but against grief, distrust, and the fragile hope of a woman who longed to belong. The dusty main street of Willow Creek, late morning. Horses clop, wagon wheels creak, townsfolk chatter. Sarah walks beside Caleb, holding a basket. The girls trail close. A church bell tolls noon. As they pass the mercantile, voices hush and whispers begin. It didn't take long for the prairie wind to carry word of Caleb Turner's sudden marriage. And in Willow Creek, news traveled faster than the stagecoach. Some folks offered nods and smiles, but others had only whispers. Two women in bonnets leaned near the mercantile door, lowering their voices though loud enough for Sarah to hear. Woman 1, whispering with a smirk. That's her, the widow that couldn't keep her man. Woman 2, snickering. Imagine Maureen, so soon after. Pauses, glances at Caleb. Well, guess some men can't stand an empty bed. The women chuckle under their breath. Sarah stiffens, her cheeks burn. She keeps her eyes down, clutching the basket tighter. Caleb notices his jaw tightening. Caleb, firm low. Keep walking, Sarah. They step into the mercantile. The bell jingles above the door. Inside, the shopkeeper greets Caleb warmly but casts a curious eye at Sarah. Shopkeeper, mornin', Mr. Turner. Heard you've got yourself a new wife. Sarah forces a polite smile, setting her basket on the counter. Sarah, good mornin', sir. Just need flour, sugar, and a spool of thread if you've got it. The shopkeeper nods, gathering supplies, but his tone carries that edge of curiosity. Shopkeeper, didn't expect you back in town, so soon married again. Folks are talking, you know. Sarah lowers her gaze. Caleb steps closer, his voice steady but sharp. Caleb, let him talk. Ain't their home she's keepin', nor their children she's feedin'. The shop grows quiet. A couple of bystanders shift uncomfortably. Sarah blinks back tears, grateful but unsettled. The shopkeeper clears his throat and softens his tone. Shopkeeper, of course, Mr. Turner. No offense meant. That'll be $2 even. Caleb pays, taking the sack firmly. He guides Sarah and the girls out. As the bell jingles behind them, whispers ripple again. Outside, Sarah stops, her breath uneven. Caleb notices. Sarah, soft, trembling. They'll never see me for who I am. Just what I was. Caleb, turning to her, steady. Then let me be clear, Sarah, you're my wife. And that's all anyone needs to know. The girls look up at him with wide eyes. Mary studies Sarah, torn between loyalty to her mother's memory and the respect she feels for her father's words. Later that afternoon, back at the ranch kitchen, Sarah unpacks the supplies in silence. Caleb leans against the doorframe, arms folded. Caleb, don't carry their words, Sarah. They don't matter here. Sarah, finally meeting his eyes. Don't they? If the girls hear enough, they'll start to believe it. Maybe they already do. Caleb steps closer, lowering his voice. Caleb, then I'll answer for this house. I'll answer for you. You've done nothing to be ashamed of. There's a long silence. Sarah blinks back fresh tears, her hands trembling over the sack of flour. Finally, she nods. Sarah, whispering, thank you for standing up for me. Caleb gives a small nod. He doesn't reach for her hand. He's not a man for grand gestures, but his steady gaze is anchor enough. In Willow Creek, tongues wagged and whispers spread like prairie fire. But on the Turner Ranch, something sturdier was taking root. respect, slow and stubborn as the cottonwoods by the river. For Sarah, it was the first glimpse that maybe, just maybe, she could endure the storm. The Turner Ranch yard, late afternoon. The sky glows gold with the lowering sun. Chickens cluck, a cow moos in the distance. Sarah kneels by a wash tub, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing clothes. The girls play nearby, their laughter rising, then dipping into bickering. For days, Sarah kept to her chores. She cooked, she scrubbed, she mended. But winning over Caleb's girls was harder than scrubbing mud from work shirts. Mary and Lila chase each other, then suddenly stop. A rag doll falls into the dirt. Mary snatches it up, glaring at her sister. Mary, sharp, don't touch Mama's doll. Lila, pouting, it's mine too. Papa said I could hold it. Mary hugs the doll tight, her voice breaking. Mary, it was Mama's. You can't have it. Sarah sets her scrub brush down, watching with quiet eyes. She wipes her hands and kneels beside the girls. Sarah, gentle. Girl, may I see her? Mary clutches the doll tighter, suspicious. Mary, cold. You'll just take it, like you took Papa. The words hang heavy. Sarah's face flickers with hurt, but she steadies herself. She doesn't scold. She reaches slowly, palms open. Sarah, soft, sincere. I wouldn't take what ain't mine. I just want to see her. Mary hesitates. After a long pause, she hands the doll over carefully. Sarah holds it with reverence, brushing dust from its faded dress. Sarah, quietly, almost to herself. She's beautiful. Your mama must have loved her dearly. Mary's face softens, though her guard stays up. Sarah looks between the girls. Sarah, you know, when I was little, I had a doll too. Her name was Clara. I stitched her dress from scraps on my mama's apron. I used to pretend she was my best friend. Lila leans closer, curious. Lila, what happened to her? Sarah, pausing, wistful. She wore out from too much love. I guess that's how you know something mattered. She hands the doll back gently, with a smile. Sarah, you two could love her together. Maybe give her more laughter than tears. Mary hugs the doll, her expression thoughtful. For the first time, her voice softens. Mary, quietly, maybe we could share. Lila beams, nodding eagerly. Lila, I'll let her sleep in my blanket tonight. Sarah smiles, relief flickering in her eyes. She reaches to brush a strand of hair from Mary's face, hesitates, but this time, Mary doesn't pull away. The moment is fragile but real. Scene shifts. Inside the kitchen, evening. A warm fire crackles. Sarah stirs a pot of stew while the girls sit at the table, whispering and giggling. Caleb steps in, dusting off his hat, watching quietly. That evening, the Turner house felt different, warmer somehow. The girls whispered secrets over supper, and Sarah's laugh slipped out, soft, almost startled, as though she'd forgotten how it sounded. Caleb lowers himself into his chair, eyes narrowing slightly as he studies the easy smiles at the table. He sets his hat aside, his voice low and steady. Caleb, what's this I'm hearing? Sounds like peace in my own house. The girls giggle. Sarah glances at him, embarrassed but pleased. Sarah, just sharing stories, Mr. Turner. Lila, blurting proudly. She told us about her doll, Papa. She said we can love Mama's doll together. Caleb's eyes shift to Sarah. Something unspoken passes between them, a flicker of gratitude, respect. He nods once, firm but warm. Caleb, that's good, real good. The moment lingers. Sarah looks down at her stew, her cheeks flushed. The girls lean against her, closer than before. It wasn't a grand victory. No one in town would write songs about it. But in that quiet kitchen, Sarah Jenkins, now Sarah Turner, had crossed the first bridge to the hearts of two little girls. For the first time, the Turner house didn't feel like a place of absence. It felt like the beginnings of a home. Evening, prairie sky darkens, wind whips. The ranch feels tense. Chickens flutter in the yard, horses whinny nervously. Thunder rolls in the distance. The prairie is a land of beauty, but it is also a land of storms. And on one fateful night, the Turner ranch would be tested, not by whispers, nor by sorrow, but by fire in the sky and fear in the air. Inside the house, Sarah serves supper, the girls at the table. Wind rattles the windows. Caleb paces near the door, glancing outside. Caleb, low, uneasy. Storm's coming hard. We'll need to check the stock before it hits. Sarah, steady, glancing at him. I'll help you. Caleb, shaking his head firmly. No, stay with the girls. He grabs his coat, pulls his hat down, and steps out into the roaring wind. Door slams. Sarah pulls the girls close as thunder cracks loud enough to rattle dishes. Lila, whimpering. Mama Sarah, I'm scared. Sarah freezes at the word. Mama Sarah, then gathers the girls in her arms, speaking calmly, though fear trembles in her own chest. Sarah, hush now, babies. I've got you. You'll be safe. Outside, Caleb runs through whipping wind, tying down shutters on the barn. Lightning strikes nearby, startling the cattle into panic. They bellow and crash against the fence. The storm did not show mercy. The sky split with fire, and the herd broke in fear. Caleb fought the chaos alone until he saw another figure battling through the wind. Sarah appears, skirts whipping, holding a lantern. Caleb, angry, shouting over the storm. Sarah, I told you, get back inside. Sarah, yelling back, and leave you to be crushed under a frightened steer? Not a chance. Together, they drive the cattle back, her lantern casting light through the rain. Sarah stumbles, nearly trampled, but Caleb pulls her back just in time. The two stand breathless, shoulder to shoulder, mud spattering them both. Caleb, panting, shaken. You could have been killed. Sarah, firm, breathless. And you could have too. But you're not alone anymore, Caleb Turner. Not ever again. Their eyes lock. Lightning flashes, thunder roars. Then silence. The cattle calm, the worst of the storm rolling past. Only rain falls steady now. Scene shifts. Inside the warm kitchen, later that night. Fire crackles. Sarah, damp and exhausted, wraps the girls in blankets. Caleb enters, dripping, watching her quietly. The storm had passed, but what lingered in the Turner house was something deeper, something stronger than fear. Caleb steps closer, voice low but certain. Caleb, Sarah, when I asked you to marry me, I told myself it was for the girls, for the ranch, for shelter. Pauses, then softer. But tonight, when I saw you standing in that storm, risking yourself to fight beside me, I knew. It ain't duty that holds you here. It's love. Sarah looks up, eyes glistening. Sarah, soft, trembling. And you, Caleb? Is it duty that holds me here? Or you? He hesitates only a moment, then steps close, his voice steady as bedrock. Caleb, it's you, Sarah. Just you. The girls, sleepy, peek up from their blankets. Mary, whispering, hopeful. Does that mean you love her, Papa? Caleb looks at Sarah, then at his daughters, and nods with certainty. Caleb, I do, with all that I am. Sarah's breath catches. She kneels, pulling the girls close, her arms wrapping around them. Caleb kneels too, the family huddled together in the glow of the hearth. And so, in a house once shadowed by loss, warmth returned. Not because of a bargain, nor out of duty, but because two wounded hearts had found each other, and three lonely souls had become a family. On the wide and windswept prairie, storms will always come. But in the Turner house, love had become the strongest shelter of all. This finale ties everything together. Storm is crisis, Sarah proving her courage, Caleb confessing love, and the girls accepting her as mother. It ends with hope and fulfillment. The shelter of love. Soft dawn light spills over the prairie. Birds chirp. The Turner ranch is calm. A horse nickers, a rooster crows. Inside, laughter faintly echoes as Sarah and the girls prepare breakfast. Caleb's footsteps are heard on the porch. The prairie has a way of shaping people, of testing what they're made of. It strips away pride, lays bare the heart, and in its harshness, it often gives back something stronger. Caleb Turner thought he needed only a mother for his girls and a woman to share the load. Sarah Jenkins thought she needed only shelter, a roof to shield her from the world's scorn. But the truth was deeper. The girls giggling as Caleb joins them at the table. Sarah's soft laugh rings out, steady, real. What they found was not just survival. What they found was love, the kind that grows slowly like cottonwood roots gripping the riverbank. the kind that weathers storms and whispers peace into lonely hearts. Mary and Lila no longer feared the silence of the house. Their father no longer carried grief alone. And Sarah, the outcast, the woman who had once been scorned, had become the very heart of the Turner home. Life on the frontier would never be easy. Storms would still roll across the plains. Work would still weigh heavy on weary shoulders. But within the walls of that small ranch house, there was laughter again. There was belonging. There was shelter, not of wood and stone, but of love itself. And sometimes on the wide prairie, that is the greatest miracle of all.